in a serious scenario, if you ask me for my name, I wouldn't even be able to open my mouth to tell you my name because I would be so shy and so afraid that I might open my mouth and say something else. I don't know.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Educative Sessions, a podcast series with people in the developer world about their coding experiences. This is powered by Educative, which makes it easy for authors to provide interactive and adaptive courses for software developers. My name is Lingo, and I am the host of Educative Sessions. Today, my guest is Adora Nwodo of Microsoft and also a contributor to the Edpresso platform here on Educative. And we're going to talk about her journey into the cloud. Very exciting. Adora, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Lee. Hi, everyone.
Yeah. So, Adora, really excited. We finally got this talk down, and I want to know a little bit more about your background, especially, where did you grow up? Where are you from? And what inspired you to pursue a career in technology?
I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. I still live here, so I've literally been here all my life. I'm from a different part of Nigeria called Enugu. That's in the southeastern region. So I am from a tribe called Igbo. So I'm an Igbo girl in Nigeria. I've always wanted to do tech for the longest time, if I'm being very honest. I was like 7 years old when my dad first brought like a computer to the house. It was a desktop, it was a Dell, and this was like 2003 or something, 2003 or 2004. I'm not really sure about the year anymore. And it was supposed to be for my brothers because they were older. And he's like, okay, I want you people to learn how to use computers so that you could be computer literate. I was really young at the time, but my brothers literally went from playing with me to playing with their computers every day. And then I'm like, I don't like this. So it's like the computer was my competition for friends, and I didn't like that very much. So I went to them to teach me how to use the computer so that all of us get to play on it together and I'm not left behind. And then that's how I started learning how to use the computer. I learned at that time how to do really crappy and really ugly, crappy and really ugly complementary cards in CorelDRAW. I learned to use PowerPoint to do like movie screenplays. I found out about the internet and I started playing games on the computer. So it was a lot that I got, sucked into at that time. And I remember always telling myself that I didn't even know programming existed at that time, right? But I was always like, I don't know what I'm going to be when I grow up, but I just hope that I'm going to end up in front of a computer. And then I was very, intentional about going into school, taking my ICT classes seriously. Anytime I see a computer, I want to play with it. And I stumbled on programming on the web. And then I started doing that at the time, HTML and CSS. So it was something that was happening from a very tender age. So it's not like tech is something that I like stumbled upon or fell into or heard about because there are a lot of opportunities there. Even before the tech industry became what it is today, I've always wanted to be here.
Gotcha. It sounded like in your early engagements, first, it sounds terrible that your brothers abandoned you for technology, and you had to compensate by learning the technology themselves and keeping up with them. And in the early days before you discovered programming, there seemed to have been a creative energy about you. You were drawing, you were writing screenplays in PowerPoint, right there. And does a lot of that energy carry into how you came to understand technology today?
I don't think, I mean, like that energy is in my whole life. So like you would see it in how I dress, you would see it in my social media because I do YouTube and a bunch of other things as well. So you would see that side of Adora the creative is sprinkled literally everywhere around me. But in terms of my job, how I'm working, like, in the metaverse and like, trying to do things for the cloud, I don't think it does much, if I'm being very honest. It's just the whole problem solving, logical side, that exists when I am wearing that particular cape. I don't think my creative side shows up there.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. And at the same time, I think it's a cool thing and a very common, no, I would not say common, but a very wise thing for a lot of people not to put so much of their energy in all of the facets of their life. And, it sounds like by focusing a lot of your professional side, your logical side, uh, into one bucket, it's helped you a lot in your career because now, you work for Microsoft, you are a cloud engineer. Tell us, how did you get to that point? A lot of our guests are very interested in getting into companies like that. So what were the steps that you had to take as well?
Uh, I'll give like some backstory before that happens. I started working officially in 2016. My first job was like an internship. So I did the whole 6 months internship and then my contract was supposed to expire. But then after the 6 months internship at the company, they really liked me. And I was like, well, because I was supposed to go back to school. So I was like, well, instead of going back to school, I think I'll just do this thing where I'm in school, but I'm also still working for you guys because I'm not ready to let this thing go. And then I was working with them. And around that time, I got an opportunity to go to Switzerland for Google Inside Look. It was an event. It was supposed to be a Google event, but I something tragic happened. I wasn't able to make it anymore. So Google reached out and they said, oh, they hope that my whole bad travel experience does not, affect me wanting to work for Google in the future. And if I really want to work for Google at some point, I should reach out, to them and all of that when I'm out of school. So when I was out of school, I reached out and we scheduled interviews. So backstory again, before I keep going, before this person that you see became this person that you see, I used to be very shy. So I used to be that person, very shy, very awkward. I don't even know what to call it exactly. But in a serious scenario, if you ask me for my name, I wouldn't even be able to open my mouth to tell you my name because I would be so shy and so afraid that I might open my mouth and say something else. I don't know. I don't know what they call that, but whatever that is, I used to have it. And then that obviously, when it was time for my interviews, affected me a lot. I remember after the interview, I knew that I had obviously not done well. And I was just expecting my call back from Google to tell me that they were like moving on with the entire thing because I didn't really do good at the interviews because I didn't really talk at the interviews. So it was weird, right?
Yeah.
And then, I didn't get to go to the next stage. And from that point, because it wasn't like I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing, I didn't know data structures or systems design. I did, right? Because I have a CS background. But for some weird reason, I just couldn't speak.
Right.
So I was able to identify what my problem was, and I decided that I was going to fix that problem. So I said I wanted to start giving talks at, starting from where I was working, attending, not being that engineer that doesn't show up in meetings, because I used to be that person, right? But attending meetings and giving my opinions during meetings, starting from there, at least be able to talk in a gathering that small. And then I started doing that slowly. I moved on to going to meetups to give talks. So that was even what sort of fueled or rather sort of started my community involvement, because I wanted to put myself in a situation where I was going to speak in public and there was no way out of it, just so that I could learn that. So going to, meetups to give talks as well, then started going to conferences. And because I was giving talks and I was sort of getting noticed, I started taking my LinkedIn seriously. I left Twitter in like 2014, but then in 2018, I came back, I opened a new Twitter account, and then I started building this whole tech community side to myself. And then Microsoft, around that time, so when you graduate from a Nigerian university, you have to go do some kind of 1 year in the field serving the government kind of thing. So it's called NYSC. So I was doing my NYSC and I was almost done. So I was thinking about what my next step would be. Should I go for it? The plan for me, because when I looked around in Lagos, it was mostly fintech that existed at that time in Nigeria. And I didn't want to do fintech, at least just yet. I wanted to work on other technologies I find exciting, maybe doing some, AI related things, maybe working on the cloud, maybe finding a company that does some kind of, quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and then just going there. Like, I wanted to do really crazy things, and I wasn't really getting that vibe yet. So I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I will go to the US to get a master's degree. And then when I'm done with my master's degree, I would move to Silicon Valley, and I'm sure something will pop up. That was my plan.
Right.
And around that time, when I was making that plan and talking to my parents about, what I would need, the kind of support I would need, and how they can come into all of that, Microsoft reached out to me on LinkedIn. A hiring manager reached out to me on LinkedIn, that they're hiring for roles in Nigeria, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, this seems cool. And then they shared what I would be working on if I joined. And it was mixed reality. And it was exciting to me. So I'm like, okay, let's try these interviews and then let's see what happens. And I think they reached out for two reasons. The first reason is they could see a track record of things that I was already doing, right? In the community and stuff. And the second reason was that on my LinkedIn, I was explicit about the kind of roles and the kind of technologies I was interested in. So I had those things in my bio. So it's like nobody, or rather in my about description on my LinkedIn. So I don't think anybody that wanted to hire for payments ever reached out to me at that point. It was mostly, okay, we're building this ABC mobile application, this, that, does that, because I was an Android dev at the time. Or we are building this thing that is powered by AI, and it seems like from your profile, you are interested in this sort of thing. Would you like to come and work with us? So that was also the same thing that happened. They're like, oh, hey, we're trying to hire cloud engineers that would come in and build, our mixed reality technology. Does that seem interesting to you? And I'm like, of course it does. And then I got ready for the interview.
Not exactly a soft pitch for them, like a very enticing campaign. It's like, would you like to build perhaps a future for the next 30 years? Sounds
I'm
good.
like, what am I doing with my life? Please, of course. Right.
Right. Exactly.
So I did the interviews, and then I got the offer. I was really excited when I got the offer, and then accepted the offer, and then chose my start date. I started working with them like a few months after that.
Yeah.
So
well, congratulations. I mean, what a wild journey, and what a journey that started from a lot of different things. And the one thing I wanted to discuss about all that was I didn't realize that you came from a space where I don't have an exact definition for that condition. Like, in America, there's stuttering is a similar condition, or when you're unable to communicate in the moment, it's like a form of anxiety, and it's a form of something that can be worked on and can be broken out of. Lots of times through therapy, or a lot of times through what you actually did, which I'm actually curious about. It sounds like you went from being a very shy, an introverted type that likes to just quietly build things in your computer, to what you are now, which is someone who actually goes out in public and puts things on the record and writes, and you contribute to Espresso, you contribute on YouTube, etc. So my question is how did you develop the courage to go from one sort of node to another node, right? And very much so, this has been wonderful for your career, because I think you got discovered in a lot of ways in your current job by doing this kind of work. So tell us about that journey of going from being crippled and being able to say your own name to probably very happily, proudly saying your own name at the top of every single thing you do, right? That's an amazing arc for me.
Thank you, first of all. How did I go from point A to point B? To be honest, me failing that Google interview hurt me so much. So it was that failure that was the booster that I needed. But I was scared, I won't lie. Like, it's not easy to just wake up and be like, okay, I failed, and for the first time, I know why I failed, and it's my fault. Like, it's a different thing if maybe you failed the interview, but you studied so hard, but the questions were ridiculous and you just couldn't get it. But it's like, these were things that I knew, that if you had given me an exam to write, like if you had brought a paper with those same questions, and you have brought the whiteboard and just said, okay, nobody's in this room, write code on this whiteboard. Nobody's in this room. What I'm supposed to ask you to explain. write your thoughts on this paper, and then leave, and I'll grade you. I would have done really well. But my problem cost me this amazing opportunity, and it's not going to happen a second time. That was what I told myself. And then I started trying, like I said, I started being more vocal at the office. And it was a very big problem at the office initially. And it was something that everyone thought was a joke that I was actually doing purposely, until I told them what happened with they just thought that, oh, she doesn't like to talk, right? They didn't realize that, oh, she actually has an anxiety issue, right? So I was very vocal about, like, I told everyone that I would want opportunities that would make me have to speak, right? It's when you are disappointed, it's very easy to disappoint yourself, because you're like, it's myself, right? I'll be okay. But when you know that whatever action you're about to take is going to disappoint somebody that you hold in high regard, you wouldn't want to let that happen. So imagine me going for a meeting where I'm supposed to represent my company, and I'm with clients, and I get asked a question, and I'm just looking at them and smiling. I wouldn't want to do that, because I wouldn't want to go back to the office, and then when my manager asks me, how did it go? I'm like, oh yeah, I wasn't able to speak. That doesn't make sense. So that, putting myself in that kind of tight spot, it doesn't work for everybody. But I think it worked for me, because I knew myself, and the failure was already the trigger that I needed to do better. Putting myself in that kind of tight spot, I went to Eventbrite as well. I don't know if you know that website. I went to Eventbrite and another website called Meetup. I was just looking for events, tech events that I could go speak at.
Yeah.
And then reaching out to them like, hey, I'm a newbie speaker. Don't know if you want to take a chance on me, but I know this, and that, and I'd like to give a talk at your upcoming event, upcoming meetup, upcoming conference. Few of them, responded, few didn't. That's fine. I was still able to get the opportunity that I needed, which is speaking in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
And that really helps me. And then from there, from speaking in front of a crowd, I now also said, okay, you know what, the final phase, I'm going to start a YouTube channel, right? I'm going to say everything in my mind in front of a camera, and then I'm going to put it up for the whole world to watch. And if I put up 2 videos and nobody tells me that my videos are nonsense, I should go, then I will know that maybe I actually have something to give, and I'll keep doing it. So that was also kind of the motivation for the YouTube channel. So it was all these things together.
Yeah. I think you did it in a very wise way. I mean, I've worked a lot in the meetup community personally, and they're hungry for people like yourselves to just come up and fill content for a day and get to know. That's exactly what they're for, right? And I think you did that the right way to go through that. And then to me, I'm terrified. I mean, we are here with Educative Sessions contributing to YouTube content, but to do it alone, like if it was just my thoughts, I'm not there. I think my thoughts are too wild right now. But what I'm trying to say in my convoluted way is that I admire your courage a lot. That you're building so much of your courage. And honestly, when I first spoke to you, when we were getting ready for this call, and I'm speaking to you now, I would have never have guessed that you had this issue. I would have thought this is an incredibly confident person who has come into their own and really seems to be comfortable in their skin. At the same time, I'm sure you're still growing as a person as well. So that's fantastic.
Thank you.
We've come to the end of our questioning, Adora, and I want to give you an opportunity to do a shameless plug. So if there's something you're working on, or there's something in your community you want to talk about, the floor is yours. Go for it.
Okay. Lee already mentioned, I am building mixed reality technology on the cloud. So I'm building the tech that would power the metaverse, and I'm building that tech on the cloud. So because I do a bunch of cloud work, I recently wrote a book last year called Cloud Engineering for Beginners. It's available anywhere. I wrote a book.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's available everywhere. So if you go on Amazon, it's on Gumroad, it's on Amazon, it's on Seller. If you use Scribed, I think that's how to pronounce it. If you use Kobo, they're on different bookstores. So depending on the one you use, you could always go there, check it out. Or you could reach out to me on Twitter, on LinkedIn about my book, and I could share some things with you. But it's a foundational book to the cloud. It's a book that teaches people that want to transition from other tech fields or people that don't even know anything about tech at all. It's a book that teaches them about the foundations of the cloud, the different kinds of careers in cloud engineering, and how you can navigate these careers and how you can grow and be successful in these careers. That's my shameless plug.
Well, no, that's wonderful. Again, so you went from not being able to say your name to another person to writing a book.
I know, right?
And and you seem like you still have a lot more to do. So this is incredibly inspiring.
Thank
Adora
you.
Nwodo, thank you so much for being a guest on Educative Sessions and sharing so much of your story. It's been an inspirational day, right? I also want to thank you all for watching us on YouTube and on our various podcasting apps as well. Really appreciate you. You can check out our work at educative.io to learn a little bit more about what we do at Educative. Also check out educative.io/sessions to check out the works of people like Adora's who contribute very actively on our Edpresso platform. Excuse me, I should say not sessions, but educative.io/edpresso to go there. But also go to, sessions as well. Why not? And really, thank you all so much for just being a part of our community. So for all of us here at Educative, happy learning. Thank you all so much. Hi there. Hope you enjoyed this educative session. Be sure to check out more on YouTube or on any podcasting app. And be sure to like this episode and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Happy learning.